At the outset, let me welcome all the participants to this interesting conference hosted by Hexagon and MSc in India. It's called User Conference 2020. And I think this is first time that we are trying to do it virtually because of the emerging pandemic. I'm indeed deeply honored that I've been invited to speak at this conference, and we will spend next 15 to 20 minutes talking about some interesting things, specifically the urgency of academic institutions to align with technologies of the future. That is what I'm going to talk about. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I've worked with several universities, evangelizing this concept of imbibing the future technologies, how to modify their curriculum, how to make their graduates ready for the employability aspect. But let's look into what's happening to our graduates today. The various graduates that are coming out of Indian higher education institutes have some major challenges. There was a survey done by Aspiring Minds that over 90% of Indian engineers, especially this was for computer science engineers, they lacked the coding skill, and they did a comparative with China, US, and India. So one of the major challenges that Indian graduates, especially of computer science, have is the ability to write correct code. So many interventions are happening in between as to how, and the code has to be also in line with the emerging technologies of AI, ML, big data, and so on and so forth. So one of the key challenges is to create graduates of computer science in this country with a proper coding abilities so that they can look into the product development aspect. And it's the product companies that require more so this kind of talent. So that was a bit about computer science graduates, but generally, even our other branches, the core traditional branches of mechanical, civil, electrical are also lagging behind because essentially the Indian engineering graduates lack the basic employability skill, and these skills are both the softer aspects and the domain aspects of technology and things. So we will cover some of these interesting aspects as we go along in this presentation. So first imperative is that how should higher education institutes align to tackle unemployability? So there has to be a paradigm shift. The whole curriculum, the delivery pedagogy, there is an emergence of Education 4.0, which is aligned with the new age delivery pedagogy of co-creating innovation, co-creating knowledge, experiential learning. So all that needs to be put in place. Also, as I mentioned earlier, also fourth industrial revolution requires new sets of skills for the jobs of the future. We're going to talk about some of these skills as we go along. Also, the higher education institutions should align their offerings in terms of the program offerings, which should be congruent to the outcomes that are needed by the competency set that the employees of fourth industrial revolution, the high-tech employees working in cutting-edge technology areas would require. We all know there has been emergence of, today we are in what is called Industry 4.0 regime, where cyber physical systems have entwined. But almost over 250 odd years ago, the first industrial revolution happened with the invention of steam engine by James Watt, and the steam became the main mechanization source. As we went along in mid or late 1800s, the economist Adam Smith's concept of division of labor led into assembly line creation, mass production. Post the World War II, Korean, Vietnam War, in US, there was a very strong emergence of what is called military industry establishment. And that's where the Industry 3.0, in terms of massive rises in computer applications, emergence of internet, electronics, the first integrated chip by Intel was invented in 1971, which kind of propelled the third generation. And the fourth generation now is being propelled by what is called cyber physical systems, which means the humans and the machines, the smart machines will intertwine. How they would work, they would have its own challenges when you have cobots as your co-workers. So that creates both technological as well as social and softer aspects of this working. So we're going to talk about some of these things. So one of the first things that I want to share or discuss is the drivers of change by Industry 4.0. One is extreme longevity. Now, longevity means that medical science has improved. We have people are living longer. There are challenges where three generations, grandfather, father, and son are working together. Also, when you have a longevity of career, then you have to have lifelong learning and these kind of things which are important. And this is one of the change brought about the recent times. And the smart machines and systems have arisen, huge amount of internet of things, and how the automation has come to the workplace. Even frontline workers like customer service agents have now been replaced by intelligent bots, and all that has become very highly automated. Huge computation because the data, the numbers, the informations are coming. So entire world is connecting to become a large super computer. So that is kind of the challenge, that computational challenge that we are going to face. New communication tools, like we are communicating on Zoom today. There are many others like Microsoft Tool, Google Meet, and so on and so forth. And also the huge emergence of social media around that, from 15-second videos to deep artificial intelligence or augmented reality, virtual reality. The whole new media ecology is emerging. So how do we tackle that? Then organizations are becoming superstructured. There were large global organizations which are now part of worldwide setups, where you have a production center in one country, manufacturing in another, marketing in yet another, research. So these are superstructured organizations where various legs and wings are at many locations. And of course, we are globally connected, and it has created diversity in workforce and diversity in teams. As to how, in an organizational sense, one can work around these things is also an imperative that the Industry 4.0 has brought about. Then let's look into certain skill sets required for future jobs. One is, of course, virtual collaboration. As I mentioned, superstructured organizations, globally networked, people are across the time zones and people are working together. And this pandemic has taught us a lot about virtual collaboration, working across time zones, and ability to work productively using the virtual. That has been the challenge, and that has been the key to success of this new mode. Cognitive load management, ability to, so much data is, so much information is flowing. So shifting what is useful, what is not useful. You are bombarded by so many tweets, so many LinkedIn messages, WhatsApps, and what have you. So how do you make sense out of this? So that requires a huge degree of cognitive load management. Another thing that the graduates of future should have: computational thinking. Vast amount of the data needs to be converted into, that's where the data analytics, predictive analytics, etc. comes into play. Another thing is the design mindset. Have to create or represent tasks, create efficient and elegant work processes. That's what is called the design thinking or design mindset. That is also important. And at the end of the day, humans are social beings. So social intelligence, ability to connect with each other, work with each other more deeper and direct way is also important. And another area is the adaptive thinking, which was called as thinking on your feet. Things come in, you look into the experiential ways, the prior learning, and adapt your decisions as the situations, because it's very important. Because as they say, today's world is a VUCA world, which is, unambiguous, it is chaotic, and it is uncertain. So one has to be adaptive about things. So these are some skill sets, and this will be discussed across the world. And the challenge is as to how to put it together into an academic curriculum so that they learn and imbibe these skill sets. So innovation, technology innovation is absolutely necessary in academic institutions. Many of them had to adopt it because there was no choice. Due to pandemic, some of the more progressive ones had already had systems and processes in place, which help them help their students. So technology is going to be a core differentiator, both in terms of how technology driven the university is, how it can adapt to various situations, and also the corporate partners, the recruiters, and institutes have to demonstrate a commitment to advanced technology, not only in teaching, but how also they operate. So there is a both sides of the coin, the operations of the academic institution, as well as embedding some of these key technologies into the curriculum. So technology enablement, or some people call it digital transformation of higher education institutions, requires that they have a full-blown ERP system to manage the student life cycle. There are standard products like SAP and Oracle to this space, as well as many homegrown products, LMS from state-of-the-art Blackboard, Canvas to Moodle to many other innovations, because the learning has to be digital. And then collaboration platforms. People have embedded within LMS various collaboration platforms. Some have embedded Zoom, some have embedded Teams, and so on and so forth. Some have created their own customized online attendance, timetabling, because to create what is called completely choice-based credit system, one needs to have flexibility. And flexibility is in flexibility of time, when to take my class, what to study, which place to study, whether I want to come to a physical classroom, I'm going to stay put in my home or hostel and learn from there. So these are the enablement. The more technologically enabled the institution is, the better it can service its students going forward. Then let's look into a set of technologies that has been brought about by Industry 4.0. So we all know, today AI is permeating everywhere. Internet of Things is connecting machines, people, things, augmented virtual realities, making people learn in a different way, or creating new genres of entertainment channels. Robotics is grown by leaps and bounds. And then emerging areas of quantum computing, how to go beyond the normal. Natural language processing, 3D printing or additive manufacturing, everything is stored in cloud computing. More on business side is the e-commerce and the supply chain management, because next challenge in supply chain management is how to manage the COVID vaccines that are going to come. We have to create cold chain for managing the delivery and supply of forthcoming COVID vaccines. Digital marketing has grown by leaps and bounds. Blockchain applications and cryptocurrencies and smart contracts, wearing technology, where we all know, we have all those Fitbits and many more things. And big data. Data is huge, and it needs to be analyzed to have meaningful sense out of it. And 5G is on the corner, and 5G may help propagating some of digital teaching learning possibilities in a very big way. So these are emerging technologies, cutting edge technologies, and we need to put them together into an efficient curriculum. So most academic institutions are thinking about, some of them have already progressed, some of them are working on it, to how to create new age curriculum, which could be aligned to Industry 4.0. The curriculum must embed, because we looked into the skills of the future. So critical thinking, design mindset, analytic capabilities, usage of new media, etc., should be part of both experiential learning as well as the academic thought process that is put together in curriculum design. Experiential learning is a very important component, especially ability, it creates ability to collaborate, work in teams. So a lot of project-based, outdoor, indoor, simulated projects should form a part of this new age curriculum. Then super specializations in the 10-12 areas which I presented in my previous slide must be embedded as super specialization within the curriculum. And then ultimately multidisciplinary training, which means that in a choice-based credit system, I can take a lot more courses, which is my passion, than just my professional life. And that creates a very wide range, and the embedding of liberal courses or liberal study programs, create those skills of critical thinking and virtual collaborations and appreciating various cultures and learning historically from seminal events in history, and so on and so forth. So designing a new age curriculum is a cornerstone or pivot on which technology adaptation or technology dissemination in higher education institutions will happen. So let's look into a brief construct. On one side are the specializations, the core. There has to be, of course, a multidisciplinary inquiry, liberal studies foundation, core technology or business skills. And that should be looked into with social immersion, means how you should work at grassroots level, understand that apart from India, there is also a Bharat at grassroots, where challenges are there. Innovation and venture creation, the entrepreneurship, startups should be part of curriculum, study abroad terms to give them multicultural experiences, very well designed industrial internships, learning by doing these experiential learning, and of course, practitioners' perspective should be a definite part of it. So this is a design construct which we are working with my consulting firm, Paradigm Consulting, at various institutions and universities to create this new age curriculum using this design construct. Some of the programs that are emerging and that we are help creating is integrated BTech emerging technologies, which means that it won't be a BTech which just focuses on a singular discipline, but looks into multidiscipline and embedded within MBA 4.0, which is about how to leverage these technologies, how these technologies are going to change the business models. Then the traditional branches can be, retweaked with what is emerging, let's say electrical electronics engineering with electric vehicles, mechatronics with autonomous vehicle engineering, more MTechs in electric vehicles, additive manufacturing, drones. So those are some of the sample programs that we have created or are creating with many organizations. And also BTech has to become a super specialized program. Way back in my earlier university, UPS, we had created this super specialized computer science programs. Now they're in collaboration with IBM. Now they are available in many super specialized disciplines of cybersecurity, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, mobile computing. And then there has to be some cutting edge master's programs in blockchain, cryptocurrency, because these are also things to stay. On more ground root level, at Bachelor of Computer Applications, which are more skill oriented, we should create programs in augmented reality, virtual reality, and integrated BSc, MSc programs in data science and analytics. So these are all needs of the hour, the kind of skill sets that today's recruiters are looking for. And universities must, as a challenge, create all these kinds of super specialized new age programs. In business commerce, MBA 4.0, which is essentially a MBA program, which talks about digital transformation and how digital transformation is to alter the new company design and how the companies will operate in this VUCA world. Then also MBAs in analytics, forensic science, forensic accounting, because these days huge amount of forensic accounting and prevention of corporate fraud is needed. BBAs with specialization in fintech, because fintech is now the next big thing in BFSI industry. Digital marketing, e-commerce, logistics is definitely a big play. And something in digital economics, BAMA in digital economics would be also interesting to note. Well, to make this, there are models, and one model is the model of Center of Excellence, which is co-created with the industry who excels in that particular area. And some of the suggested developments of Center of Excellence in Industry 4.0 vertical are in smart manufacturing, future mobility, smart agriculture. Some of these things is what Hexagon Corporation also, very strongly propagates. It has a very strong competencies in it. Then, of course, others are in blockchain for smart contracting, artificial intelligence, machine learning, which is all pervasive, sensor technologies, IoT, autonomous technologies, urban mobility, smart cities. So many experiments have been done, and these days universities are taking note of how to create an outstanding centers of excellence, and which not only help students do a practical aspect, but also create some kind of a ecosystem for industry and academia to do some joint research, some path-breaking products. The COEs can also spawn startup companies which would excel in some of these areas. So these were some of my few thoughts on this area as to how urgently we should align higher education institutions with the emerging needs of the Industry 4.0. To sum up, to end, I would like to say that universities must adapt in order to thrive, and that would be to reinvent the educational models, paradigms, in order to empower future generations. With that, this presentation comes to an end. Thank you for your attention, and thanks for listening to me.